Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Hey, special day today, talking about a woman's influence in honor of our new book comes out today. Now, my wife, we home in this situation, so she gonna be on live with me tonight, 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. But women they put themselves together, get the hair, do the hair, put on their little foundation. So I want to pop in and just talk to you really quick. Now, I would really appreciate if you're able to. If you're not able to, the book ain't going anywhere. But if you're able to, grab a copy of A Woman's Influence. It's on audio, it's on ebook, and it's on print book. Wherever you order books from, it's probably be best right now to order it online. So if that's Target.com, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or you can visit my site, TonyGaskins.com, and it has links to, a lot of different stores. But the reason why, and my wife will talk about this a little more tonight, but I'll be honest with you, and I was an absolute mess. I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know who I was. I was one of those men who just felt like my worth was in how many women I could get. And it was the mindset. It was the going mindset. That's me and my boys, coming up. When we were in high school, we had a little group. We called ourselves the Hot Boys, just like the rap group out of Louisiana. We had little business cards. I was Hot Boy number 1, Hot Boy number 2, Hot Boy number 3. Each card had a little quote on it. So we went to the mall. We went to hang out with the high schoolers. That's how we hollered at the women. Hey, my little card. The card had a name on it, phone number on it, a little quote on there, Hot Boy number 1. Hey, we were serious about that thing. But guess what? It was no other men who had, business cards in high school trying to holler at women. We had my parents had an old raggedy van. It was an old van, probably cost $900. No, it probably cost a couple grand. And it was a lady who was well off. She paid for it to get painted. I was going to a private school. I had got in trouble, got arrested in the ninth grade. Ninth grade, I lost my virginity. 15 years old. Also got arrested. Just lost, arrested for stealing. Then I was playing basketball. I was a basketball player and a football player. And I was a starting point guard on my basketball team. I was a running back on the football team. My AAU basketball coach came to my parents and said, hey, got a new coach in town at this private school over there, and he looking for some players, and your son happened to be like the only player on our team that probably could do the school work over there and has the stability and the financial ability to go to the school. And financial ability meaning $50 a month. My friends, my team, where I'm from, we couldn't afford $50 a month. My parents couldn't even afford the $50 a month, to be honest with you, but stepped out on faith. And I went to the school. I remember that lady painted that van, and we had an old raggedy van, and we would go around and pick up our girlfriends, and all three of us had a little girlfriend, and we'll ride to the park, and we just was being young men. And one thing I started to notice is that you really didn't see behind the scenes of people's relationship. And being where I'm at today and doing what I do today, when I look back, I'm like, it was a lot of pain that I saw in the eyes of my friends' mothers who were single mothers. And there was a couple who was in a relationship. But now, knowing what I know, when I look back at them, I realized they didn't have a glow like my wife has. They didn't, and my mom and dad, they met when they were, I think my mom was an 8th grader. They started dating. And so got married when my mom was 20. My dad was 22. And they were married, I don't know, almost 25 years before they went their separate ways. And think about that, for a marriage to fell after 20 plus years of being together. But it was because they met when they were kids and they went through so much and didn't really know love. So growing up, I didn't really see a lot of craziness with them because they got into church when I was 6 years old. But when I went outside of the household, that's when I remember seeing my cousin come over to my grandmother's house with a black eye from her husband. And she had just got married and had a real black eye. I hadn't really seen somebody with a real black eye, especially a woman, and coming from a man. Then I remember seeing my other aunt, who she had broken ribs one time, limping, come from her boyfriend. Then I remember seeing my other aunt, who was the mother of my cousin who had the black eye. And that aunt, she had permanent swollen lips. Like if you bust your lip, if your lip got bust so many times, and where your lip is hitting your teeth from being punched in the mouth, and your lips has like maybe the meat hanging out, and so it swells up and the meat is hanging out, and then it heals, but it heals with a swell. She had permanent swollen lips from her teeth being bashed up against her lips. And she had permanent swollen eyes from being hit in the face so many times. Permanent swollen eyes. And I remember she had a finger that was twisted, that had been broken and never put back into place. I just saw so much, pain and just so much chaos and turmoil around my family. And then I saw a lot of my female family, aunt, cousin, would go from men to women. Had been through so much with men and say, you know what, I'm over this, and go to women. And it wasn't one of those things that I was born this way type of thing. It was like, y'all men done took me to the devil house and back. I'm finna try something new. And then guess what? It still was toxicity over there. I grew up around the type of people to where when you fight, you getting it's weapons coming out. You feel me? It gets ugly. One of the things was burning people with hot grease. And one of my aunts, I think that was one of her MOs. With her, when she went to women, one of her MOs was, okay, you want to fight? Here go this hot grease. Here go this boiling water in your face. All your skin melting off. So I'm seeing people coming around who you would think had vitiligo, but it wasn't vitiligo. That was skin healing from being burnt off. So I grew up around that. That's what I saw. The closest thing to real love that I saw was my parents. And to their relationship compared to what I saw outside of the house, their relationship would have been like heaven, and they still ended up in a divorce. So that's why I do what I do today, because after seeing what I saw, that's what I thought was love. So when I went out, that's what I was trying to recreate. A relationship is a man. In my mind, a relationship was a man being dominant, being controlling, being toxic. That's what it was. And it's like, hey, it's my way or the highway. And then there was so much reinforcement. I can't pinpoint a time in my life as a young man in my formative years where a man said to me, treat your woman like a queen. I can't remember a time in my life where I saw that and heard that and seen it exemplified. And nor can any other man that I met or knew say that that's what they saw exemplified. Now, when you get online in the World Wide Web, you have people who say, oh, I never saw my mother and father, get into it. And you hear that. But so what happens when somebody who comes from, oh, I never saw my mother and father get into it, and they've been together 30, 40 years. What happens when that person meets somebody like me, who come from a total different situation where you saw total different things? And the thing about it is, your parents can't shelter you. They don't know what you're seeing. They don't know what you're taking in. I remember my first book I wrote about, my friend's dad who was a pastor who got caught on his office desk sleeping with his assistant in the church. And my mom was so mad about that. She was so mad about that. She was crying mad, Why you put that in there? They gonna know who you talking about. And I remember she called that pastor wife and told her. And that pastor wife, it was her son that I went to jail with. And my daddy was a pastor. So you see the spiritual warfare of God knew I would be here today doing what I'm doing. But it was so many derailments. It was so many detours. It was so many trips along the way, so many stumbling blocks along the way trying to derail me from my purpose. And see, this is the thing. For me, this painful. It's painful to do what I do. I've read this book. Whenever I write a book, I just write it and I'm flowing in the spirit. And so I finish the book in 5 or 6 days when I write a book, sometimes 3 days. And they go on to be best-selling books. A best-selling book is basically a book that sells more than 2,000 copies. That's essentially what a best-selling book is. And it's not about a New York Times bestseller because that's a subjective list. You can sell 500,000 copies in a day. But it's humans who pick who goes on that list. And if they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't want to stamp your book, they're not going to put you on a New York Times bestseller list. So it's not just based off numbers. And so understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. But less than 2% of authors sell more than 2,000 copies of their books in a lifetime total. And each one of mine has sold more than that, way more than that. And so that's what lets me know. And that's without a publicist. That's without a team. That's without, real marketing. And even like this book, you don't see me Skyping on Good Morning America, Skyping on top radio shows. You see this book being promoted by me and my wife with me tonight through social media. That's how I always been doing it. But still been able to be blessed because I know that God called me to this. And that's what I want to help you understand is that sometimes what you call to, it may be connected to your pain. It may be connected to your past. It may be connected to your mistakes. And that's what it is for me. Like, a lot of people get me twisted. It's a lot of guys that they think that I do this, for the money. But they don't realize when I started doing this in 2007, when I wrote my first book, I was 22 years old when I published that book. No mentor, no team. There was no, when I published my first book at 22, I had never read a book. Understand where I told you what I seen growing up. That's where I come from. You don't read books. Reading is fundamental. It wasn't a part of our fundamentals where I come from. It's people today who bought my last book, Make It Work, who said this is my first book ever reading. Full grown adults in their 30s and 40s, it's their first book. Yeah, it's some people who come from areas like that. A lot of people don't understand that. So, but look at what I'm doing. God could use anybody. I'm not a person who read all these books, went in journalism major, English major, graduated, bachelor's degree. You hear my country accent. You hear the way I say words wrong. A lot of times by choice, just because, I just talk how I like to talk because of where I was raised and who I was raised by. My grandmother from Selma, Alabama, so I loved her accent and I emulated her accent as a young child, and now I can't get rid of it. But I know how to read and write, and that's how I write these books. I write this book by myself, no ghostwriter. All of my books, I'm actually a ghostwriter. Yeah, Country Tony Gaskin that you listen to that say all his words wrong. I've written books for NFL champions, WNBA champions, Olympic gold medalists, music artists. Yeah, Grammy nominated artists. Yeah, countless books, multimillionaires in business, countless books. I'm actually a ghostwriter. I say that to say, not to impress you, but to impress upon you that sometimes you got to step into your purpose. As reluctant as you may be. Now, guess what? I stepped into my purpose. It's hard. When I read this book, it was my first time reading it when I was recording the audio book. And when I read it, I was like, wow, I cannot believe I put all this in here. But it was just such a real and raw truth that I had come to about the constructs of relationships between men and women, and all of the lies that society has told us, and the way that we have debased women and demeaned women and tried our best to render women powerless. But when I really looked at what God put in place and what he intended, a woman is very, very vital to relationships and to our world. But men, out of fear, out of self-hate, have tried to put our foot on the necks of women. And it was hard for me to admit that. Just all of the misogyny and chauvinism, it was hard to admit that that's how I believed, that that's how I lived. And that to this day, like men around me, like men that I know personally, they look at the way I treat my wife and they just don't understand it. Because I take Ephesians chapter 5 very serious, where it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Man, and I'm going to tell you, when, I'm going to try not to cry on here, but I'm going to tell you, when I look at the way that me accepting Christ into my life and living by those guidelines, the Christian lifestyle, not religiosity, but living by the guidelines, keeping the 10 commandments and living by the guidelines that I learned in Proverbs, in the book of Proverbs, and all throughout the New Testament. Just living my life with that applied wisdom, applying that wisdom to my life. If I tell you, if I went through the favor and the blessings and just the peace that God has given me in my life, you wouldn't believe me. You would not believe me. I can't even talk about it just because the way the human heart is made up. We're not happy for people. We get jealous and we'll start to despise people if they're doing better than us. It's just the way humans are. We crabs in a barrel. You rarely gonna meet people that's truly happy to see somebody else happy. That humans just not made like that, because of our sinful nature. And so I can't even really talk about it in its entirety because I wouldn't be able to get my message across, because some of the same people that I'm reaching with my message would then be jealous and bitter, and they will go into comparing. And that's not what I want you to do. What I want you to understand is that when you truly tap in to self-love, in that space, you're going to identify your purpose. And in that space of self-love, as you are perfecting yourself, I'm trying to be perfect. And I understand that perfection is not attainable, but that don't stop me from trying. So with the way I carry myself, with the way I live my life, I still make mistakes with stuff I say. I may come off, insensitive. And I have to backtrack. I may have to delete, pull back. I may have to catch myself and just always remember, operate from a place of humility. Operate from a place of purpose. Operate from a place of service. Don't get beside yourself. And it's hard. It's hard being somebody that's real and raw, blunt. But I've come to this place in my life and I realized that had it not been for my wife, just having, and to be honest with you, I don't even think it was just all her. And I think honestly, that's why she's not really crazy about trying to go on tour and trying to be a speaker. You know, it's a lot of it's a saying that says readers don't write and writers don't read. What I mean by that is I've written over 20 books in my life, but I don't read books. But if you've read my books, you know that it's quality information in there that can help you in your life. And some people will be shocked to know that I don't really read books. I listen to some audio books, but a lot of times I don't get through the whole thing. And that's because I have so much in me to get out that I don't want my subconscious to be regurgitating another author's message. That's why the saying says readers don't write and writers don't read. I remember talking to a guy who said he read over 10,000 books in his life, or 8,000 or 6,000, and it literally took this guy like 10 years to write one book. And that saying stood out to me. Readers don't write and writers don't read. I use that as an example to say a lot of times when you live in it, you don't really talk about it. You know how they say money, no money? It's like when you really got it, you don't need to talk about it. Like I know a billionaire, and this guy a billionaire, but everything I got more expensive than everything he has. I don't have his money, but I feel the need to have certain things that I like and enjoy. But because he really got it and can have anything that he wants, he don't really feel the need to have this or that. Like I have to put him on stuff, and when I put him onto it, he'll get it for his wife. You know, I showed him something I got for my wife. He said, "Hey, order me one." So I hit my jeweler, and he sent me the money. And I got to put him on stuff, but he literally can afford anything in the world that he wants. So that's how my wife is. She really got it. What I mean by that is she really lives it, like living as a strong woman who don't put up with no crap. Like she ain't never had to sit and ice her jaw, ice her eye from a situation that we got into. She ain't never had to go through that. She ain't never had to sit and look at no bruises on her body. She never had to heal from being cursed out. She never had to deal with, women calling her phone, texting her phone. And, I'm with your man right now, taking a picture of me in the bed or something while I'm sleeping and sending it to her. Like what so many women. She never had to step to a woman and fight no woman over me. She never had to go through no real drama. And so because she really got it, she's so caught up living it, just living in her being versus talking about it. And that's why you really don't hear from her as much. And on the flip side of that, I believe it's because God orchestrated the big picture. And a yin need a yang. So what I mean by that is if both of us call to do what I'm doing, my children would have no time with their parents. Because when I gotta go here and there, I done spoke on 3 different continents, over 10 different countries. Sometimes I may be on the road 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes I'm on the road 4 weeks out of the 7 days. If my wife was called to the same ministry that I'm called to, my 12-year-old wouldn't have straight A's, no A minuses. And so tonight, you're going to hear from my wife. In the video, it'll stay up. It'll say A Woman's Influence with Cherie Gaskin. So if you catch this on a later day, you get to meet the queen. You get to meet the queen and, hear from the queen. I'm going to tell you, I done blocked so many people who got something to say. Like if I post and I'm talking about my wife and they got something to say about, oh, she only able to do that because she ain't got to go to nobody's job. Or, oh, she only able to do that because, she got you. Or, oh, this and that. Oh, this and that. Blocked. And if you said it in person, I might have got arrested. I don't play about the queen. You hear me? You can ask my mama. I remember my mama said to me, she said, boy, you really take that scripture that say, and for this, a husband will forsake his mother and father and cleave to his wife. She said, you really take that scripture to heart, don't you? I barely even knew the scripture, but it's just how I am, because I realized that my wife had more influence in my life than even my parents. And that's how God orchestrated it. Because a man will do anything for his rib, for his queen. A man will do anything if that's how he views her. If a man don't view you like that, if you don't feel like your man will go get the moon and be back before noon, that's not your husband. You holding somebody else's husband hostage. You holding yourself hostage when you need to be with your husband. Because when a man really lock in and he meet his queen, it's nothing that he wouldn't do. I can't think of anything I wouldn't do for my wife. Anything. You hear me? Like that old Liam Neeson on that movie Taken, that's just a movie. I don't know if somebody could do that in real life, but I sure will be out here trying to try. You're going to have to show me otherwise that I can't do it. You're going to have to show me that that's fiction, because I love her that much. There's nothing that I would not spend. You know, I got my wife a gift, and it was a really nice gift. And I gave it to her, you know, I think Christmas was coming up. And I gave it to her probably December 5th. And I showed it to my family because it was super nice. And my mom's like, why you ain't wait till Christmas? And my response was, I don't wait to love. And my daddy, we in a group chat, my daddy put LOL. Boy, you wild, or something like that. Tony, you something else. And that's how I live my life, man. Like, when it come to her. And so I'm here to tell you, love is real. Like, happy marriage is real. If I got to sing it from the mountaintops by myself, that's what I'm going to do. But it's going to start with you and your self-love. See, my wife, the reason why we here today is because of her self-love. Listen, I don't know. I can't give her mama the credit. I can't give her daddy the credit. You know, I got to give God the credit. Just like I can't give my mama and my daddy the credit for who I am. I got to give God the credit. God is bigger than man. God greater than man. And that's honestly what I was about to say. That's honestly why I feel like my wife don't talk too much, is because I don't think she could fully put into words what happened. And here she wrote in every chapter, at the end of the chapter, her take. But she probably got a whole one or two other books in her that God gonna give her authorization to write down the line, like in the future. And this a taste test of it, you know. But I honestly believe it was divine, because for love, for real love, see, God is love. So although I talk about love and relationships, the root of my message is a relationship with God. Because if you don't know God, you don't know yourself. If you don't know God, you don't know love. You don't know real love. You might know what you call love. And even if you love it and it's pure, that's God in the flesh, even if you don't call it that. And so at the root of my message is that relationship. That's why I call what I do ministry. And what a lot of people don't understand, and this is what a lot of guys, it's like, oh, you just saying that because you got all these. Look, I started this in 2007. It was no Twitter. It was no YouTube. It was no Instagram. 2007, I wrote a book and I was marketing it with business cards. The same way I used to market myself with my little hot boy card, I had a little business card with my book on it. And I would go to the mall and I would just hand them out till they kicked me out the mall, till the mall security kicked me out for soliciting. Till they kicked me out. Then when they kicked me out, I'm in the parking lot. Boom. Hand them out in the parking lot. Then MySpace was out. I got on MySpace. I add 400 people a day. I got on Facebook. I add the max till Facebook send me that message. You cannot add any more friends. And then Facebook send me a message. We've received reports that you are adding people that you do not know. Hey, I was out there marketing that thing. You hear me? Then I get online, and every day I would write in to Oprah.com, and then to TyraBanksShow.com, and then to CNN.com. Guess what? The biggest relationship author that we know of in the black race is Steve Harvey. He sold the most books in a relationship book, which is that Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. Guess when Steve Harvey came out with his book? 2009. So people tell me, oh, that's another Steve Harvey, but don't realize I was doing this 2 years before Steve got into it. And when Steve got into it, he got into it and he got right on out of it. Steve wrote maybe one more book. That's because when you sign a book deal, you sign a 2-book deal. That's why this is my second book. Steve wrote one more book on love and relationship. Then after that, he left that love and relationship. Steve ain't do no tours. Steve ain't doing no YouTube videos. An hour a day teaching on love and relationships. And ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't blame him. Because this not in a man DNA to be leveling the playing field and breaking man laws. So you really truly got to be called to this, to get up and do it every day. But now listen now. What the devil does is the devil emulates God. So wherever you see God, the devil gonna emulate it. We say God number is 7, so the Satanists say the devil number 6. We show the cross for Jesus Christ. The Satanists, they flip it upside down, and they got the upside down cross. The devil emulates God. So when God sent us out there, which is a few of us that y'all have mentioned that you feel like is sent by God. But for each one of us that you feel is sent by God in this love and relationship space, you can count the equivalent that you feel sent by the adversary, who they teaching on love and relationships, but it's for money. Yeah, even the ones that's sent by God earn money. You earn money, but it ain't all love and relationships. I'm a ghostwriter. You know, I charge $10,000 to ghostwrite a book. I could write a book in 3 days. So I literally can make $500,000 a year ghostwriting. Really? Yes. And that has nothing to do with love and relationships. When you go on TonyGassisAcademy.com, I have over 10 courses on there. It's over 24,000 students on there. The courses that people taking is life coach certification. That has nothing to do with love and relationships. The Birth Your Book course, the Entrepreneurship with Purpose course, the Social Media Mastery course, that has nothing to do with love and relationships. So a lot of people get it twisted when they think that, oh, you just milking this love and relationship for the money. My money don't even come from love and relationships. The majority of it. When I do a love and relationship tour, I'm losing money. My wife could tell you. A lot of times we losing money. And more than losing money, I'm losing time. I'm paying out of pocket to go to Johannesburg, South Africa, to do a love and relationship seminar, to take what the wisdom God has given me on love and relationship to a whole nother continent, to the motherland. See, that's the difference. And that's how I knew, because when I looked up and I looked around, I didn't see anybody in the love and relationship space who was putting their money where their mouth is by themselves with their message. Now I see people team up and it be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people putting the money together. But I didn't see anybody who put their money up, take money off their table to put it up to go to 50 different cities in the US and then to go to 2 other continents, spending their money to go to London, UK, to teach on love and relationships in Europe, and then doing the same in Africa, and then going all through America, and then hitting the islands. You see what I'm saying? It's a difference between those who are called and those who just came. And that's what you got to realize. And so that's why I do what I do. And I'm going to tell you, it's painful. It's painful to do because a lot of people not willing to do the work. A lot of people not willing to tap into self-love and to truly love themselves and understand that loving yourself is also loving your neighbor as yourself. And to understand that self-love means you set standards that you unwilling to compromise. Self-love also means that you lead in love. But it also means that you're willing to walk away from a romantic relationship when the love you're giving is not being reciprocated or appreciated, because you have to find a situation that serves you as much as you serve in it. And so a lot of people ain't willing to go through that discipline and sacrifice. Like when I tried my wife when we got married and I wanted to go back to the street life, can you imagine what it takes, the strength that it takes? A woman, a man, a human being, if you just got married 2 months ago and your spouse that you asked to stop selling drugs decides to go back to selling something that everybody's smoking and that is almost gonna be legal. So it ain't like went back to being like, somebody out there hurting people in a real way, but selling some weed. Okay, your spouse go to doing that. You know how many women approve that and okay with that and let that happen? But to be a woman who says, listen, I said I can't be with a man that's gonna do anything illegal, no matter how small and innocent it might seem. If the people say it's illegal, you can't do it. I need an upstanding citizen, because you got to be an example to our son. And in that moment, our son was in the intensive care unit. He was born 2 pounds, 10 ounces, 2.5 months early. My wife was a full-time student, biomedical science, in school with the goal of becoming a doctor, but had fell in love with me, and ended up the creek, and I thought without a paddle. And the grown boy in me resurfaced, and I thought I had her. And then boom. And we're going to talk about this tonight. I'm going to ask about it. I'm going to ask what went through your head. I'm going to interview her. What went through your head? Because I'm trying to know. I'm trying to understand. Like, woman, how in the world you found this strength when I had dealt with over 100 women before I met you, and ain't now one of them have this strength that you got? Nowhere near, nowhere close to it. Where in the world this came from? And I believe it came from God. But it also had to be accepted by her, because God gave everybody strength who asked for it. But a lot of us ask for it and then don't receive it. But she had to receive it. And then she had to trust him and walk in it and say, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to walk out of this here marriage with no job, with a son in an intensive care unit, and a full-time student. Be willing to be embarrassed and shamed in the face of my parents, in the face of my friends, for a failed marriage in less than 3 months. You know how hard that is? But that's what you got to be willing to do in order to get to this place in life. To get to where we are today in life, blessed in every aspect of life, with amazing sons, with amazing businesses, with amazing love, with amazing relationship. To get to this place, guess what? We had to sacrifice. She had to risk the fairy tale. She had to be willing to walk away from the look of love, from the idea of love in order to help create real love. I had to overcome my insecurity, my immaturity, my upbringing, the things I had seen, the things I had done. I had to pray for the strength to break the soul ties that I had created. She had to pray for the strength and the wisdom to not judge me by my past, but to see me at my present. She had to have the wisdom to not judge me based on preferences, but to look at my heart and see that I could meet her standards. You see, this thing real. And in order to have this type of depth in loving relationships and the understanding of it, you got to know the source. So in this here book, even though it's over 200 pages, I think it's still scratching the surface. I feel like I got another 20, 30, 40 books in me. And I know my wife got some in her. If God give her the authorization to write it. But to be honest with you, sometimes people ask me, how you did this, how you did that. I could teach you some of my systems on what I did personally, but I can't teach you the favor of God. I can't sell you the favor of God inside of a course. I can show you what I did personally, my personal discipline. But the results may vary. Because one thing I can't put up for sale, that I can't bottle and sell, is the favor of God. And that's why I say, what my wife did, the chances she took by walking away in marriage, by walking away in dating, first 2 or 3 months in dating, she had to walk away. And we didn't circle back to each other till 6 months later. When she took that chance to walk away, she essentially was saying, I'm okay if I never speak to him another day of my life. Even though when she first met me and we first talked, she said to her roommate, I could marry that man. So after identifying her husband, she still had the strength to walk away. And that's an otherworldly strength. To me, that's a divine strength. But here's the thing. It was orchestrated by God, because sitting here today, my message have reached over 1 billion people. And the reason why I know this is because Facebook keep up with analytics. If you got a Facebook business page, then you could click on insights and they show you how many people your posts reach a week. And before they cut the organic reach, which they had to cut it because it was certain messages on there like mine that was going crazily viral. And it can almost start, it could start a movement that it could give one person a whole lot of influence. And the system don't want that. The system can't have that, because my message could have been stepping on Mark Zuckerberg and his developers' toes. You hear what I'm telling you? Y'all got to forgive me, my phone was about to die. I got 20%. And so, but it was showing me my post was reaching 20 million people a week. Typically it was 20.5 million. Some weeks it would be 30 million. Some weeks it would be 40 million. 20 times 4 is 80. 80 million people saw my post a week. Only God could do that. With a young kid, country, no college degree, no mentor, no team, no publicist, only God could do that. So that's why when I tell you what I put in these books, it's divine inspiration. This ain't just, I just woke up and, I want to be a relationship coach. I was thrust into this as a baby, 22 years old. But to be honest with you, when I'm real about it, when I actually think about it, I was relationship coaching in the 10th grade. I can remember this girl that I was talking to and her best friend or her cousin having me on 3-way, asking me questions about guys. and me giving away the game. And you know what? I used to sell out. I used to sell out my homeboys. They weren't doing right, I sell them out. Now, they'll get me back too. But that's when I learned a long time ago that God just called me to do right, to just be on the straight and narrow. Like, I wasn't called to be somebody that condones wrongdoing. I remember when I seen one of my homeboys, he stole this dude for no reason. And the coaches was looking for witnesses. And it was against the law, for us to snitch. And I went right on in there and snitched on him. Just because it was wrong. It just was wrong what he did. And I grew up the type of person to where if I did wrong in my household, I'll take my daddy to belt. Whoop me. Like I wanted my punishment. And as crazy as that sound, I was not the type of a kid to run from the whooping. I stand there and I take it. Just like a man, just that belt. And so when I look back at it, God created me to do what I'm doing. And that's why I'm here to level the playing field. And my blessings, I don't have to be no crazy salesman. When you watch my videos, I ain't selling from start to end. I got products. I got an academy. I got that. I'll let you know about it. But I ain't trying to do no sales tricks. I'm just here to teach. I'm just here to help. And I trust God to touch the hearts of the people who need what he has given me to put into a course or a book, to touch their heart, to say, hey, get this. And, not everybody going to do that, because some people, like I said, they built so selfish and they built so jealous and they built so bitter, and they don't understand that's why it's blocking their blessings in life. They don't understand that. So they'll say, I know this book could help me, but I'm not going to read it because I don't want to make them no money. Not even realizing we probably make less than $2, less than $1 for this here book. When you got a book deal, all the money go to the publisher. All the money go to the publisher. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, if I sell 10,000 books, that check will be less than $20,000. And that check takes 6 months to get to you. Who gonna live off $20,000? There's some people got to live off $20,000, but do you want to live off $20,000? So a lot of people don't realize that. And then people say, oh, why you only talk, to the women? Because that's who I heard. That's who I heard. So to be honest with you, I don't even understand like how to talk to men about how to treat a woman, because I'm still learning that every day. But one thing I do understand is a dog man is a no good man, because that's what I was. So God called me to give away the game of dog men, because it's more dog men than good men. That's just how the mop flops and the cookie crumbles, as my college football coach used to say. And I know that's hard to hear, but it's more dog men than good men. And some people want to argue that that's not the case, but what your life show? What your life show? If it's more good men than dog men, then you will be happily married. And you would never had to go through a breakup, never had to go through being cheated on, never had to go through a divorce. And the reason why it's more dog men than good men is because it's more sin than righteousness. When you look at your television networks, how many of those networks with mass appeal, the ones that got the top shows, how many of them are based in righteousness? Sin ruled the world. So if sin prevails, and then God come where he called, but it ain't enough people calling God. We could get Jesus on the main line, but we won't even pick up the phone. So that's what God called me to expose the lies, to expose the game, because he knows that he made women smart enough that if they hear the truth, they're going to accept the truth and adopt the truth. They're going to adapt to the truth. Adopt it, then adapt. And God knows that. but he knows he made man stubborn. You know the old joke they give you when they say a man could be going the wrong way in the car. He driving the wrong way, and you got the direction, you got the map right there, and you're like, hey, I think we're supposed to be going there. No, we ain't. No, we ain't. Hey, hush, I know where I'm going. And then 25 minutes later, you see him making a U-turn, but he don't say anything. And you sitting over there like, and you just be quiet because you know that you tried to tell him 25 minutes ago that he was going the wrong way. God made men stubborn. He know that. You could look at the animal kingdom. If you get a male dog, that male dog finna tear up everything. He finna rip up everything, tap everything up. He don't mind boo-booing on your floor, boo-booing in his cage, peeing everywhere. But then you get a female dog, she got to tiptoe out there to that grass. She'll hold that pee in long as she can. Soon as she get done peeing, she licking down there cleaning. Male, it's just men and women are different. So that's why, once again, I have to say, I talk to who I'm called to. A lady, she wrote me, she was like, Tony, I know you say men don't listen, but I believe God one day your following will be 100% men. And I said, I can't respond to every message that I get, but I'm like, y'all don't get it. I don't want to talk to men because that ain't what I'm called to. It's somebody else called to that. It's some men who was struggling to get a relationship, struggling to be in a relationship, and he can talk to men about how to treat a woman because he had to learn the hard way. You know, he had to learn, but he maybe have never been a dog man. He probably was the one that got dogged out by women. So now he is called to talk to men on how not to get dogged out by women, how to understand women so that you don't get played and so that you ain't barking up the wrong tree. That's his calling. Me, I was a nightmare disguised as a dream. I did not do right by women. So when I came out the game, God said, listen, if you want to make this thing right, like you already forgiven, but I need you to serve this sentence of living this purpose. And so I need you to get a game to your sisters, because it ain't many men that's going to tell it and tell it with a glad heart. And the men who telling it, and they telling it because they see money attached to it, because they more focused on the coach, selling the coaching sessions, selling out the seminars. They more focused on that. They're going to slip up. They're going to slip up and fall into a deep affair at a time in their life that they should be so far removed from that type of behavior. They're going to slip up and they're going to be exposed. The Lord told me, he said, look, you made mistakes, but you learned from them and you repented. So I'm going to grant you grace for your past. But when you get on this path of living purpose, if you take your platform and your influence and you don't live what you teaching, I'm going to let you get exposed. So that's why I say, you know what? The real will be separated from the fake. Like, I ain't got to hate on nobody. I ain't got to speak names, because I know who fake, because real recognize real. So I know if somebody in my lane and they don't look familiar, I know it. But it ain't my place to speak on it, because then I'm hating. So, and I see people eat stuff up. But every now and then you'll see me tweet or you'll see me post. It'll say, in due time, the real will be separated from the fake. And the reason why I say that, because I'm passionate about that, is because when you call to something through purpose and not through profit, when you was in this, when there was no money attached to it, when there was no fame attached to it, there was no popularity attached to it, when you was in it out the mud, when your royalty check was $300 after you done put in 1,000 hours worth of work 1,000 hours and you get a check 4 months later for $300. When you was in it for that, when you was in it then, man, you gonna be real. You gonna have a righteous indignation when you see people pop up and they coming in with bad intentions. And then also, so the Lord said, listen, you know where I send folks, the devil gonna send folks. So just keep doing what you called to do. And the people that's for you, they're gonna hit. And the people that come to sow discord, that's why I touch that man or woman heart who coded this social media to put a block button. God gave whoever coded YouTube, Facebook, Instagram to put a block button. So God say, hey, utilize your resources. Blocked. Anytime the adversary send one of his detractors trying to throw you off, trying to change your mission, trying to slow you down, trying to discourage you, blocked. So y'all don't understand. Sometimes people say, man, this video an hour long. It only been up 3 minutes. How it already got dislikes? That's the people who I have blocked, or the people who secretly jealous and hating. And so they don't even watch the video, but they'll subscribe to the channel from a fake page, and they done been blocked. And so everything I post, they just hit dislike. That's what that is. It's what you're gonna have when you in purpose. You're gonna have detractors. So hey, I want to just kind of lay this out again, or why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I wrote this book, and and why my wife don't always be out here speaking and talking and trying to tour and going here while I'm going there. Just to help you better understand just the purpose behind this here movement. And I thank you, if you got to this place in this video, you're a real supporter. And to be honest with you, it's less than probably 10% of people that'll get to this point in this video. Like, when you look at your numbers, it's literally, I'm gonna help y'all understand this. A lot of times people used to always come to me and they say, hey Tony, so if you do this and you got 1 million likes on your Facebook page, if you post it, if you just get 10% of that, that's 100,000 times X amount of number. And I'm like, that ain't the world we live in, man. That ain't that. Humans don't support. Humans will be there and just get everything they can from you and won't reciprocate at all. So literally, if you got to the point in this video, I'm gonna tell you that I've come down to it to where my support is literally like 0.005%. Not even 1%. Like, a supporter is somebody who they're gonna sow into your business. They're gonna buy something that you have that can benefit their life. That's what a supporter is. It's less than 1%. So a lot of times people get it twisted and they trying to count numbers. They trying to calculate in their head. Oh, so if he got this many subscribers, at least 10% buying that book. So that's 16,000 books that he's selling. No, it's more like 1,600 on average. So understand that this work right here, when you a servant and you living your purpose, ain't all glory. Now, yeah, you gonna be blessed. You be blessed, but that's God doing it. That's God doing it. Like, I remember a company came to me and had me do 3 days worth of work, in doing like a commercial and a couple speaking engagements, and paid me $200,000. That was God doing. Like, that wasn't somebody who followed me. That was a company, $150 billion company. Said, hey, we bumped into your page online and we want you to be in this campaign. So God will take and bless you like that for your obedience. Hey, this is Tony Gaskins. On the recorded video, I am not called yet to go past an hour. I only go past an hour when I'm doing a live Q&A. So God bless you. Please, if you can afford it, if it makes sense, grab a copy of A Woman's Influence, and we'll talk to you tonight on live. Talk soon.